So I saw an article on the BBC website recently, which was talking about a couple, parents of a child, who were doing the illegal run to the Netherlands to collect some cannabis medication for their daughter. And the reason they were doing this is because they have noticed the benefits of giving cannabis to their child in a medicinal format, I should highlight here, and how it's eased the amount of seizures that she's having, because unfortunately she suffers with epilepsy. And there's a big hoo-ha about the idea that cannabis-based medications have been told to us as doctors in the UK that we're okay to give this medication now, but very, very few have given it. And I think there's only 2 cases in the country which have given it so far. And this video is really to address that. So the first point to say is, me as a GP, or all GPs around the country, we have no power to give cannabis-based medications. This is a very specialized medication which needs to be given by a neurologist. So this is somebody who deals with the brain specifically in hospitals as a consultant, to recommend this treatment, start this treatment, and probably even administer this treatment. And as GPs, we cannot start this medication and we cannot administer it unless our local clinical commissioning group, which is called the CCG, is happy to fund it and are happy to give this medication. So there's a lot of things which are said in this BBC article which do not highlight the problems that we have in this country, and that is, your doctor cannot give this. And when I say your doctor, I mean your GP. And even a neurologist, a brain specialist, very rarely will they feel comfortable or confident in giving this medication because they're not very familiar with it. Also, giving this medication is not the first line treatment for epilepsy or for seizures. And this is another thing which is not covered in the BBC article. There are other medications, safer medications, well-trusted medications, medications that have gone through robust trials to see if they cause any side effects or damage in the years gone by from people being on these medications for so long, which we would use as our first, second, third line treatment. The idea of using the cannabis type treatment for seizures in children is because their type of seizure activity has been resistant to all other kinds of medications, first and foremost, that maybe you'd want to go down this avenue. And I say maybe here, straining the point, because it is not fully tested yet. And it's certainly not tested to the same robustness that the other medications have been tested. And the problem we have here, and the pressure we have here from parents who are very emotionally invested in this subject, is that if you look at the story from their perspective, there's a medication which treats, if not cures, their child, and the doctors won't give it to them. Those nasty doctors won't give them the medication which they know will cure their child. And sadly, we don't have a discussion about this. That's just not the truth. Number one, it might help some children and not all children. And number two, we're not fully aware of what the side effects are, because this medication has not been trialed and not been tested thoroughly or with a robustness that we would expect if we're giving it to our children. Does anybody remember the medication thalidomide? Thalidomide was a drug which was marketed as a cure for most things. It was going to take over paracetamol. It really helped with headaches. Pregnant women found it helped them greatly. What were the side effects? Children were being born with small arms and small legs and were grossly deformed. Why? Because the medication was not tested robustly enough. Medications can be extremely harmful. And what I say to all of my patients is, all medications are poisons. From paracetamol all the way to chemotherapy, all medication is poison. It shouldn't be in your body. The only reason we give medications is because the benefits greatly outweigh the risks in some, and the side effects can sometimes be negligible, and we're confident with giving a medication because we've given it for so long. When thalidomide came out, there was a real drive and a real push to prescribe this to people, especially to pregnant women, because it was deemed that this medication was going to solve so many issues for them. And in the end, there were unfortunately so many children that were born deformed because of it, as a result of this medication. And with this cannabis medication, I'm not here saying it wouldn't work or it doesn't work. But what I'm here saying is that you have to acknowledge, number one, it's a very specialized medication that only a consultant in a hospital who's familiar with this type of seizure should be given. Number two, we don't know the full extent of the possible side effects of this medication, and we don't know what kind of issues it should cause. If you look at cannabis in general, we already know it's strongly linked with a lot of mental health conditions such as paranoia, schizophrenia, as well as having delusions, visual as well as auditory delusions and hallucinations. How do we not know that this medication can be altering the development of the child's brain because they're taking it for their seizure activity at the moment? Then again, how do we not know that if the child has so many seizures that it's actually damaging their brain, and maybe if we gave cannabis, the outcome would be better? I don't know, I'm not sure, it's not my field of expertise. But there's a lot of these questions which are not covered in this article, and it makes it look like it's a very straightforward decision where this medication clearly works, why aren't the doctors giving it? And I think that's what this article by the BBC, and in general from most media outlets, fails to highlight, and tries to pit this idea of doctors versus patients. And this is the whole point of the antidote. We have to have these open discussions with each other. It's not so straightforward. We don't want to do any harm to our patients. And the reason we don't suggest something to our patients is because we're worried about the damage and the harm that it can cause. I just hope that patients are able to see videos such as the antidote and to have these discussions with doctors who I hope are open with their patients to try to explain to them our concerns and where we're coming from. By all means, if the evidence builds up going to the future and is deemed a safe drug and one which is having great results and benefits, and those benefits outweighing the risks, then I'm all for it. I hope that's given you some food for thought. By all means, please read the BBC article and watch the video clip that they have in there so you can make up your own mind about this subject and keep the debate going so we can have further discussions about when do you feel a doctor is holding back from giving medications, and why would a doctor hold back from giving medications? What could their agenda be there? Thanks for joining me on The Antidote. Make sure to like, share and subscribe. Take care.